supposed forecast to rain. And when that happens, it can get pretty chilly in this building because you can't adjust the temperature. It's a long saga, but this is the worst HVAC known in modern history. So if you have a sweater or something that you can bring to layer, it could also be really muggy and humid depending on if they shut the blowers off or not. We live in like as I said, it's the worst HVAC. It's terrible in here. We never know if it's going to be 50 or 80. But dress in layers, or at least bring a sweater or something tomorrow just in case. Because rainy days do tend to be cooler in here. And I'm glad you all got to enjoy a beautiful day today. It's nice out there. Okay, do you have A?
I don't have A.
Okay, A group, where is A? We don't have your messages.
No, he's emailing them now.
Okay. Should we start with B? Do you have B's? Okay, how about B? We'll come back to A at the end. So, group B, does someone want to be your spokesperson?
Whoa, wait. Oh, thank you.
Just pin it on and hold it.
Dongs. Okay. Okay, so our three central messages that we wanted to focus on sort of related to our impact on the Arctic's impact on global climate, and how sort of, ice is very different and dynamic. So our first phrase was, what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. So we try to have sort of phrasing that was catchy and something you could remember. So all of our phrases are kind of, along that format. So this basically means that, polar regions, they play a big role in our global climate. And so that relates to point number 3. We kind of put the numbers there sort of coordinate to which number in the 7 polar principles that we were trying to relate it to. So, covering bases. And then the second one is not all ice is created equal, and that basically is relating to the fact that ice is dynamic, but we're seeing accelerated ice loss in these polar regions, and so a lot of that is due to our own anthropogenic effects, beyond its natural cycling. And finally, you might not have physically been in the Arctic, but your fingerprints are all over it, meaning like, you like that? Okay, cool. And so basically, the Earth is not a closed system. The Arctic is not a closed system. So all of your actions are translated to even these extremely remote environments. I think people sort of forget that. So, yeah, that's our.
Good job.
Thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Group C.
Wait, we had one thing that did not get our group.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm always been like kind of a practical joker and groups once in a while, so I came up with Arctic Lives Matter.
Well, number 1 is what Fran Ulmer always says. She's been using that for like over 10 years.
Other people have to.
Yeah, so.
Okay. Okay, group C, the artistically advantaged group.
I thought I had to step it up for the next one. I don't know. So yeah, the lettering's big. Geez, I should have made the font smaller. Okay. So again, we tried to go with like the catchy phrases there. Not all ice is created equal, but it's all disappearing. So we started with just the not all ice is created equal, but we weren't sure that really got across the full thing that we were trying to say, which we did clarify underneath, but we thought that the more powerful statement would be, but it's all this, it might not all be the same, but it's all being affected, including sea ice decreasing, permafrost thawing, glaciers melting. And then the next one, the Arctic is changing rapidly and it will cost you. And so this is the one where we were trying to relate it back to people. And I thought it's kind of interesting because like the third one on the past one, it's that we're affecting the Arctic and the Arctic is affecting you. And I think that's something that maybe one message putting those two things together, just from when I saw the last slide. So the clarification for that is, so we wanted to clarify both the Arctic changing rapidly and the cost you part. The changing rapidly, so temperature is increasing faster, sea level is rising, CO2 is being released, food web is being affected, global warming is being amplified. So just kind of trying to give a little more specifics under the changing rapidly. And then the it will cost you. So we talked for a few minutes about, is it you, is it us, is it the planet, what should we say? And we liked you because it points right to each and every person, including more severe weather, food system changes, coastal infrastructure changes, national security, human health. That list obviously goes on. And then we were concerned the third one's a little too hopeful. We didn't want it like way hopeful, because it's not all like, yay, the Arctic's changing. But we weren't totally sure how to wordsmith it. So the changing Arctic presents opportunities for innovation and action, like along the lines of scientific research, inspiration for personal action, community conversations, communities can get more involved, tourism, investments, new technologies being developed. So you see it was a little more hopeful and happy than we necessarily wanted it to be, but we weren't too sure what words we would change to not make it as happy-go-lucky as that is. But those things are all true. We just weren't sure if that's the feeling of the message we wanted it to have.
Good job. Did I ask this group a question? Could you live with, in the first one, could you live with, but it's all shrinking instead of disappearing?
We just didn't want to say melting. That was our main
No,
goal, is to not say melting.
no, I just, with my scientist hat on, I think shrinking would be better than disappearing. Okay, thank you. That was all. Okay, that was easy. Good job. All right, Dee.
Where's the applause for our?
Then it would be loud.
They weren't ready.
This is not going to take long because we spent a lot of time getting the exact right words and trying to get a very succinct message, and we have no art. This is sorry, but we have a hashtag. Ice is life. That's right. That's right. Here's what we have. We have a hashtag. Ice is life. We were trying to kind of create a flow from here's where we are to here's where we are going, and here's what we want to do about it. So the Arctic's vital environment supports people, wildlife, and global ecosystems. The Arctic environment is responding rapidly to human and natural impacts. If I'm going to read it, I'm going to read it. Slowing the decline of Arctic ice relies on our immediate action. There we have it.
Good job. Okay, Group A, you're up. You're on deck.
Should be in the inbox, hopefully.
You need to redo, just do, oh, you did? You did redo?
I can do it if you don't want to.
You want it?
Right now, we're having a start with that. Sorry to be the bad student.
You can just read them.
Okay. So we have, yeah, let's just do that.
We do need to get them though.
Yeah. So the first one
we put them under 3 different categories. The first one is connection, so there must have been some overlap in our thinking, because we have what happens in the Arctic doesn't stay in the Arctic. So the same as the first group, B group. The second one was adaptation and mitigation, and our statement was Arctic change is happening, people need to respond. And the third is kind of aesthetic and culture, and we spent most of our time focused on this and went back and forth between 2 or 3 options, but we ended up with the Arctic, a place of great beauty is worthy of protection for future generations. There it goes.
Okay, good.
See, you should put a picture with it now.
Yeah, that was the most visually compelling of all of them. You know, the challenge with that is we felt as though the first one was really exciting, but then we realized it's used so many places that we're afraid people wouldn't get deep meaning out of it. With the last one, we felt we could unpack in a really rich way with kind of sub-explorations of that topic.
Very nice. Good job.
Okay.
Well, it's interesting to see the overlap, which of course is no surprise, right? Well, we will tabulate all these and they'll be part of what goes out to you after the workshop. And we might play some wordsmithing games and combine the ones that are like, similar. We'll take some license if that's okay. Okay, so we have our last plenary and last section of the day. Kathryn, Meyer from the Arctic Data. Now, true Rhode Islander. Say Dater.
Say it 3 times fast.
Kathryn.
See if this will come up for us here. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Kathryn Meyer, and I am an outreach coordinator for the Arctic Data Center. And how many of you have heard of the Arctic Data Center? Raise your hands. Oh, good. Okay. It's a pretty good number. We are NSF funded, and our mission is to be the primary data repository to help make all Arctic or NSF funded Arctic research reproducibly preserved and discoverable for researchers in the greater Arctic community. And it is a project that is in partnership with the National Center of Ecological Analysis and Synthesis, NCES, at the University of California, Santa Barbara, which is where we're located, along with NOAA, NCEI, the National Center of Environmental Information, as well as Data One, which is another, it's a repository for repositories, basically. That's what Data One is. So, just an overview of what the Arctic Data Center does as a whole. We have a variety of support that we provide to the Arctic community. It is a data archive, so you can go in and search for Arctic data that has been uploaded in an open access archive. It's also a data, or I guess the archive part is more where the researchers put the data in, I should say. And the data discovery portal is where you can go in and find the data that's there. We also provide support services when you are uploading your data, as well as for proper metadata and good quality metadata techniques. We have been upping our training and outreach in the past couple of years to get out data science training, as well as getting the word out about the Arctic Data Center, because it is a requirement if you are NSF funded on an Arctic NSF grant to upload at least your metadata to the Arctic Data Center. And then normally your data also has to go to a data repository, which can be hopefully the Arctic Data Center as well. But we don't want it to just be this requirement, but we want to have more of the community involvement and be a support resource for the Arctic community. We've also done some data rescue of large the recent one was glacier photo data that the researcher had passed away, and it could have just all been lost. So we did a project to help copy and get that data online and accessible. And we also have some synthesis working groups. Unfortunately, we only have funding for one, which has been going on looking at permafrost carbon in the Arctic. And what I'm going to focus on today is the discovery portal and then the outreach and trainings. I think those are two aspects that could really connect well with the community here today. So I'll start off with looking at, this would be the page that you'd get to when you went to the Arctic Data Center website, which is arcticdata.io. And as you can see on the left, you can search for data, and then if you're a researcher submitting data, you could submit data there on the right. So when you click on the search for data button, it takes you to our repository data catalog, and in the center you have the data sets that are listed. Just in the most recent submission is kind of how they're ordered initially. And then on the right here, you can see a map. So if you're looking for data from a specific region of the Arctic, you can click on a box there and then you zoom in and find data geographically. And then on the left side, you can also do filter searches for different taxonomic groups, different years of data. So you can filter by what you are actually looking for, which is pretty great. So just to run through a quick example, if we search for nitrogen, for example, in the data attribute, and then you run that search, you get all the data sets that are currently in the Arctic Data Center that include nitrogen somewhere in the research as a data attribute. And then you can go from there. So currently there are over 5,000 data sets in the Arctic Data Center data catalog, and with over 2,000 creators. But what's really cool is that there's over 10,000 downloads a month and over 6,000 users. So we're excited that it is a resource that people are using and able to take advantage of, and we want to just continue to push that and promote that for people to use this, because this is what the funding is going for, so take advantage of that. And I will take a brief moment here to just share the importance of metadata, because that is something that the Arctic Data Center is really promotes, because it is the data of data. So it's important, so if you see a data set on the Arctic Data Center website, you want to be able to interpret that and know what's going on. And that's where metadata comes into play. So it's a very valuable component of a data set. And the Arctic Data Center has metadata publishing standards that we promote and are often required for your upload. So it includes the basics like descriptive title, contact information, but something that we also really stress is the importance of complete methods, along with full definition of variables like your units. Sometimes when you're just putting all of your, uploading your data as a researcher especially, it just comes naturally to you and you think everyone should understand what it is, but you have to remember and take a step back and know that other people are looking at it who have not done your work, and they want to be able to understand, and that's why you need to make sure you include more information than you think is necessary, because it actually is necessary to other people. And probably you in the long run as well, after you've done some other projects and don't remember what you did. So it's just a little case study example. Our current synthesis working group is looking at permafrost carbon fluxes in the Arctic across time, and they are using data sets that are in the Arctic Data Center to try to see if they can find some, get an answer kind of to their question. And they've been having issues being able to compare data sets over time, because earlier data sets don't have appropriate units, so they don't know how they can compare those through time, which is just something that they've run into. It's something to think about as a real life example that that information is really important. So now taking a step towards the data training and outreach side, which is something that we are excited to be upping our game in recently. One of the things that we're doing is more outreach at conferences. So this past August at the Ecological Society of America, or ESA conference. We were there with a group of other data repositories and data science people, including DataCite, Data One, the Environmental Data Initiative, or EDI, along with ESIP and iDigBio. We had a data help desk. And so the purpose of that was for people to be able to come and ask their data questions and have live people right there to help them answer and address some of those issues. We also ran a few demos on using R analysis or GitHub or certain R tools for statistical purposes. And we're just around to show people that there's a face behind all this computer work that is often just doesn't seem like it's a person talking with you, but in these situations it is someone there behind the screen. And we've also done workshops on data trainings, and we were at the Polar 2018 conference in Davos, Switzerland this past June, and it was really nice that we were able to go and do our workshops on the uploading data to the Arctic Data Center and then data management planning. But one thing that we've been struggling with is that it's really easy to get other data science managers to come to our talks and want to learn about things, and it's good to be able to compare notes. But we really are trying to get more focused on the researchers and talk to the people out in the field and the scientists and help them understand the importance of good data quality practices in their own work and how it can benefit them. So it's one thing that if people have suggestions or any advice for that from this group, we would love that, because we're trying to be a better resource for the science community. And we also do data science trainings. So this past August we had one, and they are at NC's in Santa Barbara, and it is open to all Arctic disciplines and different career stages, and it's covered through the NSF grant for people to come, and their travel and food is all covered similar to this workshop. So it's a great opportunity for researchers to come and be able to learn data science skills, and then also meet other people in the community on a variety of, like I said, different disciplines, and bring people together that who often wouldn't otherwise be together. And so hopefully I think people got a lot out of it this past August, and we have another one coming up in January, and then we'll do another one in August. Our hope is just to continue at least 2 a year. And it's always difficult to find good times for people to be able to come, especially because the summertime is often a field season. So again, if people have suggestions for times of year that they think something that would be a better opportunity as a scientist researcher to take time off and be able to come for a week, we'd appreciate feedback on that. And just some of the things that we've covered in the data science trainings are the best practices for data management. So we want to promote reproducible analysis and open data, and we have been teaching coding skills as well, especially in R has been a focus. And we're hoping to maybe get into some visualizations eventually, because there's some people at NC's who are experts in that who can help, because people were very enthused about those opportunities at this past training. Also just overall data management and planning processes and policies for grants and funding, along with submission to the Arctic Data Center. One other outreach opportunity in data training we've been doing is with fellows. So this past January we had our first cohort of data science fellows, and they all had master's degrees, and one was actually a postdoc, and they can come to NC's for 6 months and work on projects with the Arctic Data Center, and also with another project called, it was SASAP, which deals with Alaskan salmon and people. And it was just a nice way to get the data science out and teach that to another group of individuals who then have gone off and taken what they've learned and are applying it in other ways in the environmental field for the most part. And if you go to the NC's website, you can find some stories on a few of them if you're interested. And another thing that I am pretty excited about that we have recently started is dataset highlights. So we have, like I had mentioned, over 5,000 data sets in the Arctic Data Center, but it's so easy for them to get lost as just, being numbers and spreadsheets and whatnot, and trying to promote the people behind the data sets, which was something that was mentioned earlier this morning too, just promoting the people. And so far we've highlighted 7 individuals, and if you go to our website, under the community tab, there's the data set highlights you can choose, and I would encourage you to look through those. And it's been a great opportunity for us to learn as well, because once you contact people and they get excited about sharing their research, then they have other resources to provide, so there ends up being some good links to other videos and other websites that they can share that help remind people that this is actual work and like the purpose of all the projects that they're working on. And we're trying to promote this better, which has been a bit of an issue. For the most part, we have it on our website, and we use Twitter, and we got in a Witness the Arctic community highlights article, which is all great, but if you guys have any suggestions on ways that we can promote this further, that would be wonderful. And if you have people you would like to see highlighted, to like nominate anyone, or if any of you would like to be highlighted yourselves, like that would be wonderful as well, because we're just trying to continue to push this forward and share with the community and help people get more excited about being a part of the community. So overall, the Arctic Data Center can help you in many ways. This is just 3 of the ways: to share and discover more data, ensure that your data is reusable and credited as a researcher. We have a variety of steps that make it open access, but also help promote your data in a positive way. And also just to improve your data science skills in general, which are very important and valuable, especially as we have so much data on the Arctic, and we don't want any of it to be lost, but we want to be able to use it over time, especially when we're looking at changes through time. So just want to thank the Arctic Data Center team and show you guys some of the faces that are behind the Arctic Data Center, as well as just to remind you that we're here to help. And if you have any questions at all or suggestions on ways we can help with the community, we can talk in person at this meeting. There's also a few email addresses. I encourage you to check out our website. And we will also be at the AGU fall meeting in DC this December with another data help desk, as well as a few other presentations. And there'll be more other representatives from the Arctic Data Center as well to chat with. So thank you very much. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does the Data Center do any webinars or online open courses or anything like that for your data help or like data skills?
There's not any specific webinars on the Arctic Data Center site, but we are planning on doing video tutorials for the uploading. We have a Metacat user interface is what it's called, where people upload their metadata. So we are planning to do videos for that. But also Data One is another good resource for data science skills, because they have a lot of available information and even like lesson plans that are all open access. So I would encourage you to check out the Data One. I think it's data1.org is the website for good data science skills and lessons. Yeah.
So many questions. What do you consider the Arctic?
Yeah, I think the Arctic is, I assume it's just the Arctic region that everyone would consider. If you look on the map, you can see some of those geographic locations were not accurate, but I think that was because of improper data uploading when people were putting in their latitude and longitudes. But I actually don't know what our definition of it is, but.
So you don't have like a longitude, latitude definition? It's just kind of like the researcher, if the researcher thinks they're Arctic?
I think it's associated with the NSF Arctic latitude and longitude. I guess we don't have anything written on our website. I can get back to you on that, because I actually don't know. But I'm assuming it's just goes with the region.
And then I just wanted to,
Yeah.
how do you guys overlap, or how do you overlap with EDI? Or is it just a separate thing?
It's very similar. So EDI is more, they do a lot of like the LTER, and they take, I think they say like any environmental data, and we focus on the Arctic. But it's many of the same, there would be people we work closely with, and it's many of the same like repository functions and resources online. So it's a team that we also work closely with, but they are more general.
So would people have their data with EDI and with the Arctic Data Center?
So it can also link between the two, but I think if it was Arctic data, it would be on the Arctic Data Center, and if it was other types of environmental data, it would be on EDI, I believe. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about the workshop? Who is it intended for? When is it held? How do you apply for it? Just sounded, I mean, maybe people that are in the Arctic would appreciate coming to Santa Barbara in the winter.
Yeah. So the workshop is intended for people who are fairly new to, not fairly new, but want to improve their data science skills, but aren't like experts in R, for example. So we want to make sure that people can learn from it. So R is the main statistical tool and resource that we have decided to focus on. Because I know other people use like Python and MATLAB, and there's been talk about including that as well as in the workshop. But right now, so like this next one in January, will be focused on R. And I think depending on feedback from that, we'll decide in the future if we want to open it up to other statistical softwares as well, because we know the community uses a variety of tools. And we look for like a diverse group, I guess, too, as we're going through. So we want to have some early career researchers, and there's people who are more advanced and want to be able to learn these skills to apply and teach people themselves. So, and we also have been looking to get both kind of the physical, natural sciences, as well as people who are in the social sciences, because the Arctic Data Center does take data from everywhere, and oftentimes I think it's just assumed that it's all more the natural sciences, but there is a lot of the social sciences as well. There's just more regulations about the accessibility of that data for human rights and other endangered species types of requirements.
I have a question about the 6,000 users. Does the Arctic Data Center know much about the use? Are there any highlights?
Of the uses?
Cited papers, things like that.
Yeah, I think that is something that we've talked about looking into, but it was also one way that the synthesis working groups, the point of that was to see if we could have a group that it was funded through the Arctic Data Center, so you kind of keep track of them even though they're doing their own work, and to see if they could use that data to like do a project. So I think that will be one way that we can then have an end product of a way of how the data has been used. But I can't point to any specific examples besides that. That would be a good thing to look in. Yeah, exactly. I will look into that.
Kind of related to that, I guess, because you mentioned there's guidance to go on and access some of the data. Do you have people actually register when they're about to download? Because then you could keep track, by whatever email address or whatever, to keep tabs on the who is using it.
Yeah, we haven't tracked emails of who downloads. When you upload it, you need to have an ORCID ID to upload and everything. You can see the number of downloads for data sets on I guess I don't have an example of that, but on the catalog. So you can see how many times it's been downloaded, but you can't, and we can't see who it was exactly, but I think it's also more privacy type issues in some ways.
But in a way to justify your
yeah.
existence, or exactly what you were saying, how much
Yeah,
people use it.
yeah, exactly. That's a good thing to look into. I will have to ask about that. Yeah.
So this is a really important and great resource for the scientific community. And my mind is spinning about how could this resource potentially in the future be used by the informal science education community. Because you can search and you can get data, and it sounds like visualization tools are coming too, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of as a preview for tomorrow, would you guys be willing to entertain being a partner on a proposal with one of the informal or more informal science education institutions to kind of develop that interface where the public might even be able to access this data, say in a museum or in real time, do something cool?
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
that
that
was
would
the
be,
setup.
yeah, that would be great. We would definitely be excited to be a part of something like that.
Yeah, and there's such a big push at NSF now for data education and the public and educational use of data. It seems like this would be a really great potential for a partnership going forward.
Definitely. We would be very interested in that, so.
Okay, great.
Are there any other questions? Good. Oh, yeah.
With Data One, if you go to that site, does it it looks like it searches everybody who's part of that consortium? Is that true?
Yeah, so Data One's like a repository of data repositories. So when you go on there, you will also find Arctic Data Center data sets. So there's a bunch of different member nodes that all feed into it.
Got it. Okay. I'm just trying to, people that maybe are straddling disciplines, or straddling
Yeah.
functions even.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Nice. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Kathryn. Okay. I'm going to stand over here out of the spotlight. So I hope that we've had kind of a diverse set of presentations today and some time for good conversation.